and welcome to Suddenly Dragon Studios' discussion of Dungeon of the Endless. We had a blast, made it to the surface of Auriga, and nobody died.
Well, except for that one time we don't talk
Nobody died. Nobody died. If anybody tells you otherwise,
they're wrong.
Leave on the elevator without them.
There also certainly weren't any bugs that we took advantage of.
No. Hey, we didn't take advantage of them. We just encountered them. At any rate, let's go ahead and get started. Kale, you played Dungeon of the Endless for the first time. Well, the first time was us trying to play a game of it, and then
we bugged
lagging
out and gave up.
then we just played Heroes of the Storm instead.
Yep.
So, what did you like about Dungeon of the Endless, this being your first time doing a playthrough of it?
So, I really enjoyed sort of the teamwork aspect that was almost effectively required for you to succeed or do well in the game at all. It kind of forced that synergy and planning the strategy, and I'm a huge fan of turn-based strategies, which this alluded to in a very large degree, and I really enjoyed that about it.
Yeah, and I like how it's kind of a turn-based strategy, but it's also high action, because every turn you're basically doing your combat in real time, and I think that really kind of it gives that sense of urgency and the kind of the adrenaline of combat where things are happening and it's hitting the fan and you really got to go for it. So I really like that about it, and like you said, the teamwork is a big part of it, especially in multiplayer. In single player, you almost have to pause and tell each of your characters what to do, because in multiplayer you can't pause the game. That's one thing that we didn't experience. Was in single player you can hit the space bar, it pauses the game, and you can give orders to your different characters, and then you can press play again and they do their thing. So that's something that in multiplayer you can't pause, so you really do need to coordinate with your allies and keep that teamwork going. So I really like that about it. It's really interesting. What about you, Silver?
I really liked how, as a game, it seemed to mix a whole lot of things that you wouldn't really consider mixable. How it's kind of turn-based, but not really. As soon as you open the door, everything is in real time, and as soon as everything is dead, everything is in real time.
It changes back to turn-based. It's weird.
And then I liked how everything, the art style is 2D, but it's 2D in a 3D space.
Yeah.
So you've got shadows.
Well, then it also mixes the RPG and the tower defense aspects, and it takes all these different things from games and it just mashes them together into this beautiful symphony.
It does so well as opposed to a messy cluster.
And that's
that could occur.
That's what I really think is probably one of the great parts about it is that it takes so many elements that you don't expect would work together, and they work really well.
Mixes them all up into this. Yeah, it's really good.
It's a very nice smoothie.
It's a very nice smoothie. Nobody expected spinach and raspberries to go together, but here we are.
They work well.
I enjoy it.
All right.
Prefer kale myself.
At any rate, what did you guys dislike about Dungeon of the Endless? Who wants to start?
So, it has from what I've seen, having, like we said, playing this for the first time, it has, in my opinion, a very high learning curve. You need to pick it up fast, and if you don't pick it up well, you're going to be fumbling a little bit, trying to figure out what the blazes do I use science for, if you don't know beforehand.
Yeah, and I honestly don't remember if there was a tutorial for the game.
I have no idea. I only played the one round with you guys.
The first time I played it, I was like, oh yeah, it's an RPG. And then I played through it, and I died in the 4th floor. And I was like, man, this is hard. And I kept playing it like an RPG, and kept doing that. And once it clicked in my brain that it was okay, this is actually a tower defense too, then I started building more defensive models, and that's when I actually started getting further in it and eventually beat it for the first time. So that's something that I think I agree with you. The learning curve is pretty high, and it took me at least a few tries to get there. And I'm stubborn. Like, I was playing on easy difficulty the first few games, too, and I didn't realize that too easy is the baseline. Easy is the hard difficulty, and then if you want harder than easy, you add different...
You change the pod.
Pod modifiers. So you do, like, I think there's the, there was one pod that specifically said, this is hard mode. And, like, it basically, the monsters are stronger, you find fewer items, you get less dust, all your generation of resources is halved. It's, like, this is hard mode. And so, I didn't know that easy was hard difficulty. I thought that too easy was easy difficulty, so I was playing on easy and just getting my can kicked to the end of the street over and over again. So, I agree, the learning curve is pretty high, and it's kind of arcane, too. If you haven't played any of Amplitude Studios' other games, you don't really know what dust is, and that it powers things, and, you know, so on and so forth.
That's another aspect of the game that I personally would want, and there is a story. Yeah. That being said, I'm a lover of stories and tales and epics, but there wasn't really one there. It was survive, go up.
Yeah, so one thing that
there is a story, but it's not told throughout the game.
Yeah, one thing that we didn't experience was different characters. If you have certain combinations of characters
in the elevator,
they'll have conversations in the elevator talking about their relationship with each other. And you actually find out, I think there's one with Opbot, where it talks about how he was reprogrammed to kill a bunch of people. And he's a medical droid. He does surgery and saves people, and he was reprogrammed to kill people, and he went on a killing spree, and that's why he was actually a prisoner on Success.
Interesting.
So, and then you go on to find out that Opbot, the people that he killed were actually the ancestors of the Vaulters in Endless Legend. And you go through the story with him there, and then he continues the story in Endless Space 2 with the Vaulters. So there's a lot of story, but like you said, it's very hidden, and you have to, like, explore to find it. And you have to have specific combinations of characters, and you have to go through a certain number of floors with them to even get the story on the elevator.
Though I suppose that would be a good way to kind of increase replayability, is to get the full story. You have to play it multiple times with various...
That's not a bad thing. It really is not.
Yeah. Well,
as opposed to, like, some other games where it's like, we're going to force you to do this. Not because it's fun, but because we want to force you to do this.
Yeah, you gain replayability in, like, you have to play the game 50,000 times in order to get enough experience to hit level 20. And you're like, okay, great. Whereas this is more like, oh yeah, go through the dungeon, and you'll find random people that you can recruit, and if you keep them with you for 3 floors, you'll unlock that character, so you can play them from the beginning. And then if you play different characters, you can get their story and how they interact with each other. And it's that kind of thing.
I just realized we didn't actually show off, I think it's called the album.
Oh yeah, so...
There's an album?
Yeah, so they have an album in Dungeon of the Endless, and as you kill monsters or discover heroes or
I believe it's
meet
unlock
people,
heroes, not discover them. Once you unlock them, they'll get an entry which will kind of talk about them.
Yeah, you have your album, and it has like pictures of the different heroes and commentary, and it's basically like if somebody going through the dungeon were to keep a journal of all the people that they met.
Like, for example, the medic hero from Team Fortress 2 is actually in the game, and its comment, it's got a picture of what we would recognize as the medic, and the guy who's writing the journal is like, this guy is a little nuts. I'm not entirely sure if he's an actual doctor.
He says he's a doctor, but I don't know of what.
Yeah, it's
stuff
just
like quirky little journal entries about the different aspects that you meet in the dungeon. So that's something that we didn't do. That's good though.
I might personally go back and create an extra video where I go through my album and kind of show it off, but
yeah,
really that was the only thing we forgot to show.
Yeah, well, that's
I
okay.
didn't know it existed.
We haven't gotten to you yet, Silver. What did you dislike about Dungeon of the Endless?
He loves it.
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's like... if there is one thing that I would dislike, it's that it's probably that there isn't a complete intro. Like, you don't really know what's going on. You know you're in an escape pod, but where are you coming from? There's no intro.
Yeah.
So
Where did you come from?
All you
Where
know
did
is
you
you're
go?
on a ship named Success, and that your
Where
escape
did you
pod
come?
went down to
Yeah.
the surface of Oregon. Cotton Eye Joe.
Go.
Yeah, we'll just get that out right now.
That's how I'm
Anyway.
gonna get stabbed. No, put your phone away. Don't throw it at me. Anyway, back on topic.
Back on topic. Let's move on to the next one.
Let's
Go ahead.
Well, it was
Anyway.
that there's no intro, and possibly that there's no there's no tie-in to the Endless Legend. If we didn't have you going in and researching what happens after this,
Yeah.
we would never know what happened to them. We know they got to the surface, but
It looks like a war-torn waste, and all you assume is that your people died.
yeah, you either assume
Basically.
that the falling comets are either more escape pods, which we assumed they were, or they're falling meteors or pieces of your ship.
Raining death and destruction
Yeah.
to the land.
Yeah,
So, yeah, there really is no intro to the story, and then also no follow-up a little bit after you reach the
kind of
surface.
wrap
We're
up.
like,
probably.
okay,
Well,
great.
kind of wrap up.
we have a picture of our characters standing in the middle of what looks like
And it's a
burning
beautiful
landscape.
picture. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's
one
good.
thing that Amplitude Studio does really well is their concept art, the art that
Their
they
artwork
use
is
for
great.
everything is
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful.
All right. So on to the next point. What did you guys learn about game design from Dungeons and the Endless?
Tutorials have their place.
Tutorials definitely have their place.
It doesn't need to be holding your hand, but a simple right click to move would have helped me out in the first 20 to 40 seconds.
Or
Yeah.
you attack automatically.
Yeah. It's
So, I
they
mean,
kind of rely on you going through like trial and error,
Yeah.
trial by fire.
well, that's the thing. I never think to click my middle mouse wheel whilst playing a game. That's not something
That's
I
true. That's
usually
kind of an
do.
unconventional thing.
So, controls and
Controls.
awareness of those, especially to a new player.
Even if it's just a help screen that pops up and says, here's what you
here's
do.
how to do
X,
the
Y,
thing.
here's the controls. Here's what they do. Go. Okay,
Here's the check
I
mark
can
to
run with
show it
that.
again.
It's true. It's a good point.
I know what I learned was basically don't assume that something isn't going to mesh well with something else.
How so?
Well, like the whole RPG and tower,
RPG tower
yes.
defense.
or the 2D and a 3D
2D
space.
objects in a 3D environment.
Like, it's not 2.5D because those games exist, but at the same time, it's neither
It's-
really 2D and
You're
it's not
rendering
really
2D
3D.
objects in a 3D environment.
So-
And it works actually really well.
So it's like, don't pick some mechanic from one game, pick another mechanic from another game, and say they won't work together.
Just assume they don't connect.
Mash them.
Yeah, you can
Try it.
Try
Worst
it
case
out.
scenario, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Time it does. It's awesome.
Experimentation.
It's like a smoothie. You won't know until you make it.
I will know because dirt and leaves.
Aren't very good.
No.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's some common
Use
sense
quality
that goes in
ingredients.
there. Anyway, one thing that I think I learned from it is that the animation was really good. Like, just looking at the game, you see that it's like a 2D
It's
game.
pixelated.
It's pixelated. The artwork isn't really like... It's not outstanding, but
It's-
for a pixelated game, the artwork is really good.
It's not detailed.
And
Yeah.
But
one
it's
thing
smooth.
that, while we were playing, I kind of noticed, and I was like, oh, that's really nice, was that we were just standing around talking about what modules we should build in the room. And I noticed that Kale's character, the nurse,
Dino
was
Ratchet.
standing there with her arm on her hip, and she just, like, flips her hair back, and it was like, huh, I never thought I'd see, like, that much personality in a pixelated 2D
Yeah.
figurine. And Amplitude does a really good job of, like, conveying that personality in all of their characters, of making sure that they they actually seem like people. And we met Mizzy, the sister Mercy, who's not possessed by a demon warlord. And, we went back into the room to go check on her, basically. And she's, like, kneeling on the floor holding her head. And you don't see that a lot in games. You just see the character and they're there. But you see this personality come out in these little quirky
I would
behaviors
probably say
that
you
they
don't
do.
see it in 2D games all that often, but we were playing
3D
Heroes of the
games,
Storm,
yeah, it
and I
happens
had
a lot.
noticed, okay, there's even subtle differences in this character's attack, or in the way they stand, they move a certain way,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I think conveying personality not just through interaction, but just the way people carry themselves, or the way they behave when they're just standing around, and the way that they move and attack and all these other things is really just a subtle way to inject that personality and that feeling of these are actual people.
Yeah.
And kind of help the players connect with the characters a bit more. So, that's my thought. Cool. So, if you guys had the opportunity, what's one thing that you would change about Dungeon of the Endless?
Other than the tutorial.
Other than
no,
adding
no,
a
no.
tutorial and... Yeah.
Other than tutorial and maybe a touch more story, but the story's there. It's just
You just gotta
got
go
to dig
for it.
deep.
Yeah.
I personally would maybe have the ability to target specific enemies.
That's true.
Yeah,
That could really help.
Because if you want to... Yeah.
I understand, it'll auto-target, but what I'm shooting will attack me. I'm okay with it hitting me. I've got health regen out the wazoo.
Yeah,
But
it's...
that bugger's going for the core. And I want
kill
him
that
dead.
guy.
Yeah, or that monster was going to give me 8 dust if I kill it really quickly.
Yeah, those ones are kind of a pain, because I'd run to those rooms with the
And
dust
there'd be a slew
jellyfish,
of enemies in there.
and I just attack everything else. And by the time those things either leave or I get through them, the dust jellyfish disappears, and I'm like, okay, well that's great. So,
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
agree. Being able to, even if it's just as simple as going into your character sheet and saying target specialty monsters or target core targeters, or being able to specify a type of monster that you want to target first and set a hierarchy of kill the specialty monsters, then the core attackers, then the module attackers, then the hero fighters.
Yep.
Type of thing. Just something like that. So, I think that would be good.
So that's what I'd add.
Do you want to go next?
Um,
I'm just stalling so I can think of something else because Kyle stole mine.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Lord.
let's see. Yeah, other than give it a little bit more of a storyline or an epilogue, other than that, I'd probably... I can't really think of very much. Maybe a bit more opportunities to have character interactions with characters you meet, rather than just
That would
on
be
the
interesting.
elevator.
Yeah, even just throughout the level.
Like maybe a character meets another and they instantly, start attacking each other.
Start something.
Like
Yeah, it could
it
be.
becomes an actual combat. Like you have to attack, you have to finish killing this character, otherwise it's going to kill this other character, or it
Yeah,
won't
that could be
stop
interesting.
attacking him.
I think one thing that I think would be good also is that when you're getting to the later stages of the game, being able to recoup a little bit of the industry that you used on modules when you destroy them to rebuild different things.
Yep.
So like say we find a room and we load it full of biomass factories, and then later on we're like, oh, this is actually going to be our choke point, we need some defensive modules in here. If we destroy all those biomass factories, it would be nice to not be punished for being proactive in building those and actually get some of our industry back so that we could build defensive modules that would attack all the monsters. That would just kind of help with encouraging players to change and adapt and to build better defenses and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway,
what
did you
aspect?
want to... Were you done?
Yeah, I was done.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
What aspects would we want to include in our games that we will someday make?
Personally, I loved the 2D artwork in a 3D space.
Smoothies.
I really
Smoothies.
liked that. Like, it wasn't so much the RPG and the tower defense, it was just that artwork and that lighting engine.
Well, and
was
it just
awesome.
takes a 2D picture and it just brings it to life because you've got all this lighting and the shading and all the shadows and everything just, it feels more real even though you've got this pixelated artwork.
Yeah.
So, I think that's great. I really liked the level up system, honestly. I think...
Okay, so you stole mine this time. You got me back.
Eat it. Actually, that's exactly how you level up, is you eat food.
It's true.
But I really like the idea of collecting resources to level up rather than go kill the monsters, because then it makes it so that you're not quite penalizing characters that aren't going to be in combat or aren't going to be interacting with other monsters or players or so on and so forth. You divvy out your resources to level up, and I think that's a really good...
It forces everyone to contribute.
Yeah, and it forces everyone to contribute, and it also makes it so that you can have those characters that aren't in the combat or doing story events or...
I mean, Silver was operating a good chunk of the modules most of the time.
Yep, 99% of the time.
Module rooms just standing there being like, I do the industry!
Have tool belt.
It teleports tool belt across dungeon.
If there wasn't so much muck on the fan that it stopped moving, I was on a module.
Yeah. So that's my thing, is I like that the level up system is a resource based, rather than experience points and story events.
I really liked honestly, I didn't have that many characters to choose from, but I saw how many there were available, and I really enjoyed that. Just the different styles of gameplay that you can cater to and implement. Someone wants to sit back and just run and build modules the whole time? Great, let's do it. Someone wants to not really worry about that, go and get neck deep in combat? Let's do that as well.
I was in the middle of combat.
The variety of play styles that it was able to cater to, and cater to well from what I saw.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that variety.
There's a lot of different characters, and even just like going through the different characters, you get everything from... This is the engineer from TF2, and he repairs buildings, and that's all he does. He even has an ability that makes it so he doesn't attack monsters when monsters are in the same room. He just repairs buildings. And then you go all the way to the other end of the spectrum, where there's the warden of the prison ship, Mormish, and his whole thing is he even has an ability called Armchair General, where he gives bonuses to people who are in other rooms. As long as you're not in the same room as him, you get a bonus. So he is literally built to just be away from the combat, far, far away.
Go do the thing.
And so you get this wide variety of, like, you're in the middle of the combat repairing modules, or you're... say there's a character named Ken, and he actually gets bonuses for being alone in rooms. So he is the opposite of teamwork. He's run ahead and kill the monsters before they get anywhere near the team. So like you said, there's a variety of play styles that are just so different in all the different characters. Anyway, any final remarks before we sign off?
I feel like our two biggest takeaways, similar to... with our home analysis, I feel game design wise, audio is important, is the biggest thing we got from that one. This one, the visuals. It's amazing what you can do when you've got both ends of the spectrum.
Well, it's
for sure.
Well, you could even take it away as you don't really need to be, the latest AAA game to have a really good looking visuals.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah, so we'll be playing Endless Legend next. Amplitude Studios' 4X strategy game.
Turn-based.
We'll try to make
which is my jam.
Fairly quick. Yeah, Kale's over here gonna wreck all of us.
Necrophages.
Necrophages.
Probably not, actually.
We'll probably... So what I'm thinking is we'll disable all the victories except for the quest victory, so we can get the full story.
Necrophagus!
But I'm not doing necrophages because I haven't gotten their quest.
And, well, the quest victory, the last portion of it is the same no matter what race you play.
Well, yeah.
But I think we should also do like a kind of a team-based type of thing where one of us will do the quest and the others will support. I don't know. We'll figure it out when we do our playthrough. Yep. We'll try to keep it quick. I know turn-based strategy games can get pretty long.
We will be going at the fastest feasible difficulty.
Yeah, we'll probably change the game speed
Not
to be as fast as possible, and we'll probably put a turn timer on it just to keep the ball rolling.
Keep us hustling, because we don't want to waste your guys' time.
At any rate, join us for that. Like
fun.
the video, subscribe, click the bell icon, and that way you'll get notifications anytime we upload something new.
That way we can hound you when you're asleep.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll try not to upload anything while you're sleeping.
No promises, because time zones.
Well,
Yeah.
you can schedule uploads to happen at certain times. So
There's
just
always going to be somebody who's asleep.
schedule
when
it to
we're
happen.
True. Otherwise, ladies
I'm
and
sorry,
gentlemen,
Australia.
boys and girls, thank you for your time. Have a blast. And
Catch
thanks for
y'all in
joining
the next
Amplitude
one.
Studios.
Dun-dun-dun.
Goodbye.
Bye.